Okay, so first, as is a tradition for some of you who are now on your very first community chat, we go around and we do introductions. And so I'll start. Well, you know me. I'm Lou Blaustein. I am the founder of Eco Athletes, and I am so excited to see you all here. And now I will hand it over to Patches.
Patches Magaro, Eco Athletes Strategic Advisor, and I am completely immersed in our US vote climate effort at the moment, which you'll hear a little bit more about later.
Yes. And now I am going to hand it over to Belle.
Hey guys, I'm Belle Palekia. I'm a senior now at NYU, and I play basketball at University of NYU.
And Patches, what else can we say about Belle?
She's a national champion, reigning national champion.
Yeah. All right, we have more people coming in. Let's go to Marceline.
Good evening, I was going to say. For me, it's evening. So I'm Marceline Bos de Koning. I'm a sailor Olympian. And I think none of my fellow sailors is going to join this meeting because there's a really big regatta going on in Spain, the America's Cup. So I think everybody's there. I'm living in the Caribbean, in the Dutch Caribbean, and I try to set up a wave here. So there's more local people thinking about what we do with our oceans and our waters and stuff like that. So it's going good actually, and it's warm.
Great to see you. And now we're going to go to Eliza.
Kia ora koutou. Hi, I'm Eliza McCartney. I'm a pole vaulter from Aotearoa from New Zealand. And yeah, in the sport of athletics, pole vault. Yeah, that's about it really.
And was in the Olympics in 24, and you will have an important role in our discussion. Also, also a Paris 24er. Let's go with Sam Mattis. Where is Sam?
Yep.
There he is.
Sorry, some computer issues. Hi everyone, I'm Sam. I throw discus. Sorry, I missed the first couple minutes. I don't know if we were supposed to like add anything else in fun about ourselves. But I'm in the US, in Pennsylvania, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but that's where I train. And yeah.
Middle of nowhere. You are at the epicenter, but that's in a whole
From an election standpoint.
That's right. That's right.
From an election standpoint, for sure. Those are the only ads I get to see for all of the year.
All right. Also from the 24 Olympics, staying on that, Rydian Cowley. Rydian, hello.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Rydian. I'm from Australia, also doing athletics, so just keeping on the athletics theme as well. I do race walking, and yeah, Paris, I got a bronze medal, so yeah, joining team Olympic medalists.
Awesome. And now let's go to Gary Gilliam out in the Pacific Northwest, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Gary Gilliam. Sorry, I'm on the move right now. I am a former NFL player for the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. I'm also from Pennsylvania, or as we call it, Pennsyltucky, Hershey, Pennsylvania. And now I'm a real estate developer. My company buys old schools, malls, shopping centers, and we convert them into mixed-use developments that we call eco villages. Happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, let's welcome in Madeline Franco, who I met in person at the Green Sports Alliance Summit. Maddie, you're up.
Hi, nice to see you again. My name is Madeline Franco. I ran track and cross country at UC Santa Barbara, and then I'm getting my master's in sustainability management and policy while running at Long Beach State. So have a big background in sustainability, and I'm super excited to be joining my first meeting.
Welcome. And now let's go
Thank you.
let's go to way above Cayuga's waters at Cornell. Emily, you're up.
Hi guys, I'm Emily. I am a junior at Cornell University studying environment and sustainability. I'm on the basketball team and I joined Eco Athletes this past summer. I'm super excited to be here and to speak with all of you guys. So thanks for having me, Lou.
Oh, it's great to have you. And sticking with the basketball theme and the Ivy League theme, nonetheless, let's go to Providence, Rhode Island. Gianna, you're up.
Hello, I'm Gianna. I'm a senior on the basketball team at Brown. And yeah, thanks for having me tonight and setting this up, Lou.
So when Brown plays Cornell, you guys will have to get photos together and do some cool posts. All right,
Yes.
now let's go with one of our newest Eco Athletes champions, and that is Chloe from Cal Berkeley.
Hi, everyone. I'm a junior on the lacrosse team at Berkeley, and as Lou mentioned, I'm a new member, and I'm super excited to be at my first meeting.
And both Chloe and Emily, at least, and there are probably more, are involved, very deeply involved in bringing green sports to their universities. And last but not least at all is, well, Lou, we share a name and we share our, what do you say? There it is. Wait. Okay.
Not sporting it right now, unfortunately. Hi everyone, I'm Lou. I ran track and field at Rutgers University in New Jersey, grew up in New Jersey, did a master's in public health and environmental health science, found a liking to sports sustainability, and now I am working at New York Roadrunners, organizers of the TCS New York City Marathon, and nonprofit, in sustainability and corporate social responsibility. So happy to be here.
And great to have everybody here. So the agenda for today is one, to get a sense of what went on in Paris from a sustainability point of view. And we have at least 4 people who were there. And then also to see what went well, and what could have gone better. And then also to then shift to the brainstorm. But before we get into that, I'm going to hand over the floor for a couple minutes to Patches to talk about our new Vote Climate initiative, which is based for our U.S. champions.
Sorry to hijack from the rest of you global citizens, but I just do want to take a moment to ask something of our U.S. champions. So if you haven't seen what we're doing, it's mostly around voter registration and then asking people to vote like their climate depends on it. So in this upcoming election, climate is definitely on the ballot. And please have a look at our social media if you haven't had a chance to see it. We have some great content that we've had produced professionally. An amazing video that we put up today. Today happens to be voter registration day in the United States. We have a video starring Nafisa Collier, Brent Suter, and Elena Olson. It's fantastic. And one of the next things that we need to check off our list as far as getting this message out would be some content of an Eco Athletes champion doing voter registration in person. So either say it out loud sometime during the meeting or reach out to me or Lou directly after the meeting. If you have a willingness to go to some sort of in-person voter registration events to actually talk about voter registration and potentially help people register in person, I will do my very best to try to find something as close to you at a time that's convenient for you to do it. Take some pictures, take some video. It would be the kind of content that we really need at this point, and it would help with our media outreach for bringing some attention to this Vote Climate initiative that we have. So that's my appeal. If there's anyone who's willing to show up in person at a voter registration event, I will find something for you to attend or do my best.
And it wouldn't have to be a long period of time.
Right.
All right. So thank you, Patches, and all right. Thank you to our U.S. champions, and thank you to our non-U.S. champions for indulging us. Okay, so first, Paris 2024 was billed as the greenest Olympics ever, and you know, objectively speaking, especially since they did not have to build new venues because they've hosted 2 Olympics before and have so much of a sporting infrastructure, they were ahead of the game in many respects. And I think they did you know, there were many advances that the organizing committee undertook, and I think there's some truth to it. I'd love to get a sense of what the athletes who were there, and Lou, who is an athlete but who wasn't an Olympian, but was there, and also was documenting what was going on for Eco Athletes. Yes, Lou was our reporter on the ground, one of our 2. Would love to hear what your observations were, what your experiences were of the sustainability and climate initiatives that you saw, what worked, what you think could have gone better. So I know Eliza was there, Ridian, Lou, Sam. I think that's it from our group right now. But if anyone would like to get it started.
Suppose I can start.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot was made about the accommodation buildings and whether it would need air conditioning or not. I think when we had some of the really extreme days there, the air conditioning was really necessary. But I was also quite impressed at with the days that were hot, but not that hot, that how you didn't necessarily need the air conditioning. And I think that just shows about when you put effort into building quality and for apartments and even just for houses, reducing the amount of energy you need to heat up or cool down a building, I think is really important. When we use energy that's coming from, I guess we've generated electricity somehow. A lot of countries are still using fossil fuels, but also more increasingly from renewable energy. But renewable energy sources still require a lot of resources to put together, and the less energy we have to use, the better. So I think that was something really positive that I think should get taken out from the games.
So and Ridian, so Australia did not bring their own air conditioning?
We did.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, but were you not using it?
We did when we needed to.
All right. And I understand. Anybody else, either on the air conditioning issue or on maybe what you saw from the if there was extreme heat, how you experienced that, or if you saw any examples of the way Paris 2024 was communicating the green initiatives that they were taking. And I know, so if anyone else would like to, and also I think there were also some events for athletes. So really, there's any number of ways you can take it.
But they did a pretty good job communicating. I mean, they clearly made it an issue, and was clearly something that they were focusing on. I mean, I know we're all a little biased because we're more concerned about this and on the inside than the average person, but I think just the average fan or average athlete would have noticed that it was something that was important to the organizing of the games. That said, there were definitely some missed opportunities and some things that they did really well. For me, the big missed opportunity was there were a lot of plastic bottles. It didn't seem like they made a huge effort to cut down on those. I know they made some effort, but I don't think it was executed super well.
Yeah, it was much more convenient, at the vending machines to get stuff out of vending machines and to get reusable cups that you could then put somewhere to get reused.
So
And like,
So I can add to that on the same thing. From a fan perspective, when they make this whole big initiative about reusable Coca-Cola cups that you can return to get €2 back. When you order a drink, they take a plastic bottle of iced tea, for example, pull out a plastic reusable Coca-Cola cup, pour the bottle into the cup, hand you the cup, toss the bottle.
No way.
Yeah, so for someone like me who's noticing it, not good. For any other fan getting a nice cup that they can return for money, that's also says Paris 2024 on it. Here, I have it right here. Actually, I could show you. I gotta get a step stool, but yeah, behind the scenes, that's what they were doing. So I think that's a huge missed opportunity.
Lou, were these like really large containers of iced tea, or were they like opening the Snapple that they would have just handed to you and instead pouring it into a plastic cup?
They were opening the Snapple, like the plastic individual size bottle, pouring it into a cup and handing you the cup.
No way.
Yeah.
They're actually creating more plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, literally.
It
But
is, yeah.
claiming to give people money back for returning a reusable cup. One right now, I'll show you guys.
crazy.
While you're looking for that, we have a new visitor to the chat. A new champion just arrived, and also I'm betting a future Olympian. Talia, introduce yourself.
Hi. Hi everyone. I'm Talia. And well, as Lou was alluding to, I'm a race walker. And this past year I competed at the Olympic trials, which was really cool. Right now I'm a freshman in college. So I'm at Harvey Mudd College, in California.
And it was really cool because I could watch the Olympic trials, and I literally, and it was like at 7 a.m, and I'm having my morning coffee, and there's Talia walking around the streets of Eugene, Oregon. It was so cool. Anyway, were you able to find that?
I did find the cup. So this is the one from the opening ceremony. Pretty solid plastic, probably more solid than the US Open ones.
Yes. And that's
return me. With a QR code that basically just explains that you can return it for money. But yeah, they would open up a plastic bottle, pour it into this, hand you this over the counter, and say, return it here for €2 back.
What was the I wonder what percentage of people returned it for money?
Well, not many, because they're really cool. Each cup, like this is the opening ceremony one, but each event had a different design of the sport you were watching. So for a super fan like me going to watch track, I kind of wanted to keep the track cup, you know what I mean? And no one's drinking like 4 Coca-Colas at a track meet. So yeah.
So there are a lot of cups out there.
A lot of cups out there. And a drink itself was maybe $4.50.
So a lot of cups out there had expensive soda in it for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
I feel you. I got it.
Anything else, Sam?
Yeah, so that was like the one big miss for me. The things that I think they did a lot really well. I mean, the Paris metro system was great, and they bussed athletes everywhere. That's something that was just awesome, especially like coming from the US where we just don't have public transit. That was really cool. It's going to be interesting to see how LA does that. Within the village, you could see like a lot of biodiversity efforts, which were really cool. Even the construction of the pathways and buildings was built with like stormwater in mind. They had solar cells on the base of the Seine by the village, and it was measuring their output in kilowatts, which was also really just things that are like measurable are cool, and I think they did that well. I think it would be great for LA, and it would have been great for Paris to kind of go more into the measurable things and deliverables like kilowatt hours, or like tons of food and plastic avoided. But they did do that. It just wasn't really advertised for solar production. And there was one little like athlete guided for the sustainability initiatives, but it wasn't really advertised outside of a small group. But that was super interesting, and I think it would be great if LA could engage athletes on that in like a bigger way. But for the most part, I thought.
Was that the tour? Was it you and Lou and Elena? Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about what they showed you and told you?
It was the sustainability organizer, or the sustainability team for the organizing committee, that just took us. It was just the village, and it was not everything obviously, but like they tried to touch on the major things that they did to make the village more sustainable, whether that's like the construction materials, or like even some sidewalk materials, how they were doing the cafeteria, the biodiversity efforts, installing solar, having it's like this new interesting like experimental air filter on some of the bridges, that was supposed to clean the air because it's near a highway. So that would filter the air around places where people were sitting and congregating. So that was a little cleaner. That was super interesting. They talked a little bit about cleaning the Seine, using reusable furniture in the village. The furniture in the village dorms was like not comfortable or good, but I think that's because it was just like some of the stools were literally cardboard, so they're just meant to be like used from recycled material and then hopefully recycled again. But I think those were the main things that they touched on. But it was just interesting getting a look at
it. I mean, I'm sorry to hear about the furniture.
Yeah.
It's a small detail.
Did you sleep in one of those cardboard beds? Anybody?
So the US is like crazy. So they got us mattress toppers, and for the bigger people on the team, which I'm one of, we got actual beds. Because the US just does the most.
How about you, Eliza?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts actually on Paris, but
I could see I could actually see you thinking.
I think I guess if I try and look at the big picture stuff, there are a lot of wins. I mean, for one, the marketing, the fact that people knew that this was a games that was trying to be more sustainable, and the fact that the organizing committee wanted it to be that way. Like, I think that's a massive win. At least they care. At least that's a starting point, you know, like it's better than just pretending it's not a problem and it's too hard for us to even get involved in. So I thought that was a really big win. Kind of just making sure that perfect isn't the enemy of good in that sort of way, like making sure that it's a start. And then we'll hopefully kind of create some competitiveness and help LA want to be better, or at least on par, you know. So I think that there were some big wins there, and also the big wins in the things like the location choice being somewhere. I mean, yes, the extreme heat wasn't great from a location point of view, but the fact that they've already got existing infrastructure, they already had existing great public transport. Like, these are big things that need to be considered for the location of Olympics. And so all of these, I think, are really big wins. I know the plastic stuff is infuriating to no end, but some of that stuff I personally think is the kind of smaller stuff that, of course, needs to be tidied up 100% and should be an easy win. But in the scheme of things, I think there are these little things that could absolutely be done better. And maybe that's something that we can advocate for further in LA. But I think thinking towards LA, it's some of those big stones that I'm a little worried about, like Sam was just alluding to. My understanding is that public transport in LA is not really a thing. So that's a massive carbon impact for a games to not be able to like move people around efficiently and things like that. So I'm a little worried about that. But yeah, I think yeah, I wrote a few things. I wasn't actually sure about the energy, although Sam, you're saying there's solar panels and things like that. Yeah, again, just my thoughts being like hitting those bigger stones was great. That was a good start, and I was really like pleased for that. But I have a little bit of an issue with them saying it was the most sustainable games ever, because it's not. You know, go back 100 years in Paris, that would have been a more sustainable games. But I take what they mean, that in the modern games in the last 10 to 20 years, yes, of course, and that's fine to measure it against that, because we were going like that, and in some ways we are going like that still in terms of carbon. But hopefully we're going to be peaking soon, right? And the further Olympics will be less carbon intensive. Yeah, so no, I think I was pleased to see the efforts that were made. I think that was a really important start.
Great summary, and don't shortchange the sustainability of the 1904 St. Louis Olympics. They got it. I'm sure that the footprint back there was not so big.
I think you're quite right.
So this is a good. I hear some background noise.
Yeah, sorry, I've got a whole bunch of people just walk through and
No
don't
problem.
have headphones in.
So
whilst my thing's making noise, actually, one other thing that probably ties in a little bit to the plastic bottle thing that we were talking about is sponsors, and the fact that Coca-Cola is an Olympic sponsor and also one of the world's biggest creators of plastic pollution. And I think, yeah, in general, probably something that the Olympic Committee needs to be working on between now and LA and between now and Brisbane is fixing who their sponsors are and getting more value aligned sponsors that aren't busily, you know, destroying the world and adding God knows what chemicals into the ecosystem.
yeah, I mean, and that's also a good pivot point to getting us to our brainstorm. We're now everybody from our on this chat, whether you're an Olympian or an Olympic sport or non-Olympic sport, can certainly weigh in, because as you know, the Paris 2024 champions who were there can attest, there were some big wins, but we've got a ways to go. And we also know that the climate scorecard isn't, you know, is not in our favor overall. So the question is, how can we, as, I mean, I'm using we as, but not including me as an athlete, but how can we, the Eco Athletes Champions and the athletes community more broadly, push the IOC and LA28 to go faster, higher, stronger on climate? And whatever we come up with here in terms of ideas can also be applied to FIFA and men's and women's World Cup, or FIBA and basketball, or whatever the sport. So this is not only Olympics oriented. Now you may say, but Lou, we're just, you know, we're just some athletes. We don't have that much power. But I'm here to tell you that something happened this summer that says no, that we actually do have the power. And so, you know, many of you will recall that we sent around several open letters that were brought to us in advance of the Olympics by different campaigning organizations that, like what Rydian was saying about Coca-Cola and also Pepsi, to try and get them to focus more on reuse and less on recycling, or to get the IOC to not renew their deal with Toyota as a mobility partner due to Toyota's greenwashing. And in both cases, we got a bunch of champions, including several of you here on this call, signed on to the signed on to those open letters, and we got letters back from those companies, but they were very pro forma, basic letters, PR, spin kind of thing. Then we also did one for Lululemon. Lululemon being the official outfitter of the Canadian Olympics team, because they are a Canadian company, and they talk a great game. They talk the talk on climate and sustainability, but their walking of the walk is not so good. And in fact, the campaigning organization that we worked with, which is called Action Speaks Louder, has made a big public hue and cry about Lululemon's poor record on Scope 3 emissions and their supply chain, and actually their emissions are going up, not down, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, Action Speaks Louder had us send around a letter. Now, obviously, for the Canadians who were competing, there was no way the Canadian Olympians of the current era could sign on to that letter, no problem. But we opened it up to all of the Olympians in our group, and 6 signed, and then one Canadian Olympian from 1996, who's not of the current era, so she didn't have to worry about reprisals. She wrote an op-ed. Her name is Margot Maloney, a beach volleyballer from 96, and she wrote an op-ed that got published in a national publication. And then she signed on to the letter. Anyway, the letter was sent to the CEO. The CEO wrote back, and this was clearly not a PR spun letter. And he said 2 things. In mid to late September, we have our new sustainability report coming out. We would like you to examine it and see if we've done better. We also are open to talking with you, not the athletes, but the campaigning organization Action Speaks Louder. And Ruth from Action Speaks Louder, who is our contact, came back to me and said, you know what? We never, ever, this does not happen. This kind of reaction from a company does not happen. It only happened because we had athletes who were speaking out. And does that mean there's going to be major success? Who knows? But they're at the table. So that gave me a spring in my step. And I said, okay, so now let's take this and put it on to, torque it up to 11. So what I want to do is, for the next 15, 20 minutes, let's brainstorm some ideas of what it would look like if Paris 28 went big and even much bigger. I mean, not Paris 28, LA28 went much bigger on climate than did Paris or anybody else. And no idea is a bad idea. Big is just as good as small. And to help you with this, we have some thought starters that we at the Eco Athletes Worldwide headquarters put together to just give you some ideas to think about, and then maybe you'll have some ideas then I'm sure you'll have some ideas of your own. So I'm going to just share my screen. Oh, and Lou is cooking dinner. Okay. All right. So hold on. So can you guys see that? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay. So here were some thought starters. The IOC should become a B Corp and thus put itself to really live up to the highest standards of social and environmental sustainability. And if you're not aware of B Corps, we can talk about that separately. Prohibit any fossil fuel companies from being a sponsor. Only, and in a similar vein, only accept ads and sponsorships from EVs or hybrid autos, and our campaigning group GSCC that worked with us on the Toyota letter they would say take out hybrid. So
I'd agree with that.
yes, so I'm fine with taking out so let's edit that right now and say, there you go. That was easy. And then only award Olympics starting with future Olympics, that is, starting with winter 2034 and summer 36 to cities with a legitimate net zero plan for 2040 in place in a couple of years. So in other words, because that's when they're going to start off deciding who's going to get those future games. And then requiring host cities to feature climate in the opening ceremonies and require the networks to broadcast those climate themed vignettes. And just as a matter of the historical record, there was such a vignette at the 2016 Rio Olympics, and all the broadcasters aired it because they were airing the entire opening ceremonies, and that reached over 1 billion people, which makes it the most watched climate messaging ever. And it still is the case because they didn't do it in Tokyo. Well, Tokyo was COVID, but they weren't going to do it anyway, and they didn't do it in Paris, as far as I could tell. Anyway, so those are some thought starters. Unless you tell me keep them up, I'm going to take them down, but I just wanted to give you get some ideas going. All right.
Before you take it, oh, it doesn't.
Oh no, I could put it back up.
No, leave it down, leave it down. I was just going to say that World Athletics has a similar strategy in place for the idea of future host cities having a plan. And I think that's a really, really sensible starting point, because location is probably the most important thing when it comes to reducing the carbon footprint. So I just want to say that I think that's an excellent point, and we can look to other organizations as well and whatnot to understand ways that could be done as well, and the kind of most effective way to push for something like that. So yeah, that's cool. Love it.
Awesome. So any ideas?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to kind of echo what Eliza just said about World Athletics requiring a sustainability plan. So what World Athletics does that I think would be great to see the IOC do is not requiring the city to have like a net zero plan by 2040 or 2050 or whatever, which they should. But their sustainability plan has to be part of their bid. Like it's weighted in the bidding process. And I think for 2027 and beyond, it's binding too. So there are consequences if they don't live up to the sustainability standards that they and World Athletics set out before the bid.
Oh, I like that. Wait, so how does that work? If they don't live up to the standards, what's the penalty?
Exactly sure at this point, because they haven't had a bid yet with that binding clause in it. But it might be financial, is what I would assume. Probably pretty small, since it's not a huge part of the bid. It's weighted like 5 or 10% or something. But it is an important part of it.
Excellent. I see Marceline from the Caribbean is raising her hand where it's warm.
I'll drop my hand. I had a question, because I know when in the Paris bid, it said that they were going to be the most sustainable Olympics ever. And then they had all these things that they wanted to do, but they did not live up to every single point, of course. So what happens with not living up to the points?
That's the thing. Like, what are they going to say? Oh, you're not going to be able to hold the Olympics again in 70 years?
Because that's kind of the same what happens with Russia. Nobody really wanted to go to Russia anymore. I mean, that's a political thing. That's something else. But you can never change so close before the games anyway. So you lose points, you lose money, or how are you gonna... I don't like punishment, but in the end, it kind of is that the way to go, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know,
I mean, you could, that's something that again could be advocated for, say there needs to be a financial penalty or something. If LA doesn't meet the requirements. Again, this I reckon this comes into the whole idea of having like having a sustainability plan as part of your bid. And that could be really powerful if the IOC takes it on and then has, you know, reasonable repercussions that would encourage people to stick to it. I think that that's a nice package, you know.
Yeah.
I think that having a policy set up, but also having the IOC set a very, very high standard of sustainability initiatives or sustainability policy to even be considered to host in the first place. Like if you're going to put in a bid, you have to have met at least these minimum standards of public transportation, infrastructure, vendors, procurement policy to even be considered. And then after that, you can do more to try to claim your spot, but there should be a minimum. And to be fair, I don't really know what the process is to select a host city, but I think that the very, very strict policy with some pretty high minimum standards would do a lot.
Ridian? Whoops, maybe not. What about you know, for me, my bias is always is that the storytelling has to be there. And telling the story of whatever the sustainability story is, and truthfully to the millions and billions of people who watch, because that's the power of sport. And so I have an idea, and I think that the media companies that broadcast the games, NBC here in the US and BBC in the UK and many other broadcasters in countries all over the world, need to air climate-related, sustainability-related public service announcements in every broadcast, and so that they need to be able to pay slightly less in rights fees because they're not selling that space that the PSA goes in for advertising. So the IOC or whoever gets the money, the local organizing committee, needs to take a little bit less so that the climate sustainability messaging is out there. And maybe there's even a contest or something that the viewers can do so that you're getting millions and hundreds of millions of people to take some kind of climate action. Okay, maybe that's crazy. But I'm putting it in there.
Dream big, Lou.
Well, why?
Yeah, I think that's good.
And I know taking less money is not something that the IOCs or the NFLs or the big sporting organizations of the world are usually doing, but these are, you know, we're in emergency times. So, you know, desperate times mean desperate measures. Anyone else?
You can also ask sponsors to reserve a spot for those messages. They pay the same, but then they have to, from all the advertisement, they have to show what they do in climate actions. So you actually do the story talking by actions.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
Sustainability plan is part of the bid. This is sort of related, but I think it would be great if there would be some sort of audit for and after. of how they lived up to their goals, because realistically, that's also the only way that you can see if they lived up to their goals. And also, I think it's just important to measure like emissions and waste so that there is a yardstick, and any other games in the future can say like we beat that by X amount, we're greener or not. And having that out there, I think, is important because you don't know what you don't measure.
I think also like needs to be really explicitly put that you can't just rely on magicking everything away through offset, and sort of dodgy sort of perception aware sort of supposed fixes.
I think along those lines as well, like creating a sustainability legacy. Like, I don't know what the state of California is like for their like energy distribution at the moment, whether it's how much of it's renewable, but this could be an opportunity to set up a whole lot of renewable energy that's in use going forward. I mean, that's a massive sustainability, right? If you're going to build infrastructure, make it sustainable, make it last. And if you're going to put in more energy, make it sustainable, make it last. If you're going to put in public transport, make it a robust system, you know, like in some ways, I guess it could be worth kind of putting that intensity in now, if it means the city of LA is set up very, very well for the future. I mean, that's also an important thing to consider as well.
Oh yeah.
One train line, that would be huge.
I feel you. It's the same in New Zealand. It's terrible.
There is, I mean, I was just in LA for the Green Sports Alliance Summit in June, and they got a lot of work to do on the subway system. I'll just say that. Now, what about, so what do you think are the biggest source of emissions from an Olympics or a World Cup? Any guesses?
Fan travel.
Yes, fan travel. So, well, one idea could be to, limit, have a greater percentage of tickets sold to people from the home country or home region. And I'm not saying that just because it's the US this time.
I thought the exact same thing, encourage locals to turn up. I think that, I mean, that's could be controversial, but in some ways, like, if the Olympics is shared around continents, then it's not unreasonable to say, well, for this Olympics, let's really try and encourage the locals to turn up. And then, when it's in Europe, it's easy for lots of Europeans to get to it, encourage them to turn up. I think that's a worthwhile idea.
And one way of doing that, maybe that isn't like as explicit, or like potentially controversial, just to advocate for like slightly cheaper tickets for locals, so it's like more accessible for them. And the messaging isn't like, we don't want fans taking planes. It's more like, we want people who are around to come, and like we want the city to enjoy the event.
And maybe there's a way to get a little discount if you carpool, because in Los Angeles, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to take mass transit, even though or whatever mass transit that they have on offer that isn't there now, that people get a price break if they take it. What about, because now I don't know about the Olympics, but I find it hard to believe that it would be different than something like the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, the biggest source of emissions, the past Super Bowl, which is, I believe it was in Las Vegas, was private jets, if you can believe it. And, what about limiting private jets? Or is that too controversial?
Body could get behind that. Maybe not like the board of the IOC, but I think most people dislike private jets.
All right, I think we put it in there.
I'd love to see some sort of incentive. So for example, if you were coming from somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere a little farther, if you were to travel to LA via train or even bus versus air travel, that you would get some kind of like meaningful discount on your event tickets for fan travel.
I'd take the train across the country for that. At least one way. Now, what about,
Even if there's not that many people that take advantage of it, it's a good
yeah.
to
Or
get the
just
conversation going.
subsidized public transit, like all the trains, like you could say all the train, I don't know what the train system is like out west, but all the, like, for example, if it was here, NJ Transit, guess what? NJ Transit's free for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Everyone is taking public transit, and I'm pretty sure the IOC could pay what NJ Transit is going to be missing out on in terms of money. Yeah.
What about, oh yeah, and NJ Transit was just free. Is it still free this week, or it was a couple? It was.
It was like a weekend. It was Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, because of all the problems during the summer.
Yeah.
What about anything to do? Any thoughts on plant-based food offerings?
I was just going to bring that up actually.
Oh man, Eliza, we're on a kinetic thing.
There's no reason why certain venues can't offer only vegetarian, for example. If you're talking about like an athletics meet, a track and field meet, for example, like in Paris, the stadium was dry. And, there's no reason why you can't do a similar concept for just having vegetarian options. I mean, no one's going to suffer horrendously if for one meal or snack they, don't have meat. And so if it's kind of taken, you take the power, you kind of, I can't remember what it's called, but you essentially just enforce it without enforcing it, and people just kind of go along with it. They don't have to make decisions, they don't have to do anything themselves. It just is what the option is. So I think venues can do that.
I think it's extremely important to focus that squarely on fans and spectators, because it infuriated me about the headlines that came out of Paris. In my intake of news, the headlines were much more about like, athletes are starving, there's no eggs, there's no protein, there's no meat. And I totally get that. The Olympics is not the time to try to force an athlete to change whatever their typical diet is. And it really disappointed me that became the bigger story than the plant-based options that were available for spectators and fans. So I think there really needs to be a very careful, intentional plan for the village and the athletes versus the venues, fans, and spectators.
I completely agree.
So for those of you who were there and eating there, tell me what that was like.
I was just going to ask, I mean, I didn't see any issues, and I don't know if it's because I turned up later or what it was, but I thought there was plenty of protein options. I was a little confused about where that story came from. But Sam, did you see more?
Same. There was a ton of protein options and a lot of like beef
Yeah.
every day too, which like that's like as far from sustainable as you can get. The problem was just the food was bad. Had nothing to do with like vegetarian or not.
So I think
the chocolate muffins.
So I think we need to
Have
put
any
in
of the muffins, unfortunately.
in our manifesto, we have to put in make the food good. And how about that?
I think so.
Delicious
Yeah.
plant-based
Good vegetarian options. Yeah.
Right. And we have an idea from Chloe that came in via the chat, which from Berkeley, which says free or discounted parking for carpools. Any more on that? Any thoughts on that, Chloe?
Oh, it came to me when we were talking about giving discounts if you carpooled to the LA games, and I thought like that would be an easy way to do it. You get let into the parking for free if you can prove that there's other people in your car, that kind of thing.
And
That's a
then
great one. That one's really like doable.
and especially in LA, that because it's a car culture, that makes a lot of sense. And
What
do you
about discounts for EVs for parking? Also,
Okay. What about, especially for those of you who have been into our Clothes for Good campaign, what about apparel? Because apparel is, depending on the source, 6 to 10% of global carbon emissions. And yet there's just, oh, you got to have more kit and more this and more that. And is it sustainable? And is there a circularity involved? Any thoughts on that?
for those of you who got mountains of gear, what are you doing with this, with all the stuff?
Friends, and like whatever I have left, I donate.
Yeah, New Zealand, before the games finished, they had boxes for clothing to go to different charities. So if you don't want your gear and it hasn't been used, put it in this box. If you have used it but it's clean, put it in this box. So they have a program for making sure it goes somewhere.
Oh, I'd love the AOC to do that as well. Just because it's a lot easier when you're there rather than leaving it up to each athlete when they get home to figure it out.
And again, you've like taken it off the individual as a responsibility. Like, sure, they have to like donate it in there, but if you tell them when you get home, go and donate it, no one's going to do that, are they? So you need to try and make it easier for the individuals.
Yeah, I suppose the individual athletes have got to like trust that it's actually going to get donated, not just dumped somewhere though.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
How
So I mean,
about,
that's another chance for storytelling.
how about having, I wonder if there could be like at the closing ceremony, some kind of like athlete clothing swap. And, you know, it would be high profile, it could be fun. And, you know, because the closing ceremonies have this kind of party vibe, at least watching it on TV. And maybe that, because that will get media coverage. Just a cute little thing. And here's an idea, which I brought up to some of you, Patches, I know I've, what about, and this is a goal of mine, Eco Athletes House at LA28, where every day there would be different Olympians would come in and there would be a different climate or environmental or sustainability topic that would be the topic of the day. And there would be, you know, a panel with an athlete or two and with other subject matter experts. We'd invite media because I know the houses are a big thing in the Olympics. This is what I've heard since I haven't been to an Olympics since I was 17. So any thoughts on that?
Like that. And I think what you could also do if we end up getting like speakers who know stuff and maybe have like a workshop or something is advertise it as a way to gain skills for anyone planning on transitioning careers, because I think that's always a popular topic for athletes, especially Olympic athletes, because none of us have any like savings, so we need to work after we're done competing.
Oh, I like that. And it can be green careers and even green sports careers. Any other thoughts on Eco Athletes House? I would also say we would want to have a solar company sponsor it or some kind of, a company of that ilk.
I mean, like there was the Athlete 365 house in the village, and it'd be like I think that's a lot more accessible and going to get a lot more through traffic than when people have to leave the village. So it might be good to have more environmental engagement in like the Athlete 365 area. Because
What's the
I don't
athlete?
think there
What's
necessarily
the,
was a lot of that this
what's the
time.
Athlete 365 area?
It was sort of like this tent that you went through on the way to the main dining hall. And you could vote for in the IOC athlete athlete commission elections. I think the Paralympics could also vote for their Paralympic athlete committee elections. There was like anti-doping outreach, and there was a few different activities as well that people could do in there.
And were
Yeah,
people,
you definitely advocate for a sustainability corner in the village, or yeah, in some ways that people can go to if they're interested. I think that's a great way to get athletes more involved.
and
Yeah, I think it's going to likely have a better chance of activating and engaging.
I'd want to just like make sure media come there, because then you automatically get media who know, okay, I'm at the sustainability house or the corner or the eco athletes house or whatever it is. This is why I'm here. I'm here to talk about this stuff with athletes. So then it's a more relaxed kind of conversation.
You'd have to have it outside of the village though, if it to have media access. Or sometimes they have like a I don't know, a buffer zone where media and athletes are allowed, but
Buffer zone.
yeah. So like this village, there was a space where it was technically still inside the village, but the media were allowed into it. But it's the confined space.
Got it. Well, we're up
It would
against.
also be great to like. I'm pretty sure LA has a sustainability team.
Oh yes.
I think it would be great to like just communicate with them on this, because I feel like that's work that they're expecting to be underappreciated, and if like we could set up a space where it would be appreciated, or like in the Athlete 365 house, just them having a spot there or near there where they could engage athletes, I think that would be great, and like get more athletes involved too, and like raise the profile of the sustainability team there and what they're doing.
And the sustainability team, I know a couple of the people there for LA28.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to jump off soon, Lou, but I did just want to make one quick point. That I don't know how many people on this chat, but Ridian's now gone, but the Commonwealth Games are happening in 2 years, and that's for the Commonwealth countries. It's quite a big deal for us, not obviously so much for you guys. But they've just announced that they're doing a pared down version, a pared back version, because of cost, and I'm hoping also because of sustainability. So they're not building any new infrastructure. They're just using what currently exists, and it's going to be held in Glasgow in Scotland.
wow.
And I thought that was an interesting concept. Sorry?
Oh, I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, so they're reducing the number of sports, and they're trying to scale it down a little bit, so that they don't have to build anything. And I just thought that was a really thought-provoking thing for the Olympics. I mean, part of the issue is the Olympics has just gotten too big, almost. And that's also a problem for finding cities that can afford to host it. You know, there's a whole lot of reasons why that's not great. So that kind of, I thought that was quite thought-provoking, that maybe in the future we could, advocate to the IOC about maybe, might need to put a cap on how big the Olympics can get, and just try and scale it down just a little bit.
And one thing for sure, I mean, LA doesn't, like Paris, LA is not having to build any venues, really. Like that's, and I think now Brisbane in 2032, that's a whole different story. Like I think that's going to have a lot more construction related emissions, unfortunately. I mean, I think having a rotation amongst cities that have had it before going forward out into the out years is probably a good idea, but that I don't know. So anyway, I know Eliza, thank you so much for your input, and thanks everybody. If there if anybody wants to stay on for 2 minutes, I was gonna play our Vote Climate video. It's just so you can see it, and for the Americans and non-Americans alike. Does that work for you guys? It's literally 1.5 minutes. Ready? Hopefully technology works. Okay, let's see. Here we go.
Introducing at 6'1", two-time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA, WNBA All-Star with the Minnesota Lynx, and Eco Athletes champion, Nafisa Collier.
I'm an Eco Athletes champion because I want my daughter Mila and everyone in her generation to live in a healthy climate. People often ask, what is the most important thing I can do about climate change? That's easy. Vote. Voting can lead to the policy changes you want, including when it comes to climate action. But to get off the sidelines and vote, you have to be registered. How do you go about that, Brent?
It's a slam dunk, Nafisa.
A basketball metaphor from a baseball player? Nice.
I try. Hi, I'm Brent Suter. I'm a pitcher with the Cincinnati Reds, and I'm an Eco Athletes champion. To register to vote, just go to ecoathletes.org. From there, you're a couple clicks away from registering to vote, finding out if you've already registered, finding out how to vote early, and much more. The thing is, we're already late in the game, so go ahead and register today. Hey, Elena, you know a little something about making stuff happen when the clock's running out?
You've got that right, Brent. I'm Elena Olsen of the 2024 U.S. Olympic Rugby Sevens team. We won the first U.S. Olympic medal ever in Rugby Sevens, but it came down to the very last play of the bronze medal game. Even though some states' deadlines are hitting at the end of September for the November 5 election, registering to vote doesn't have to be dramatic for you.
All you have to do is go to ecoathletes.org today,
make a few clicks, and then vote like your climate depends on it.
And there you have it.
There you have it.
So if you're in the US and you haven't done so, share it. Get your friends out there, get them to register, check their registration. Registration is still open in all 50 states as of today. Deadlines start hitting at the end of the month, beginning of October, and we will have more such content.
Yes, and if there's anyone who's willing to go out in person to an event, I will find you one.
There it is. And in the meantime, thank you so much, everybody, for your insights, for being part of this chat. Any last comments? All right, and Marceline, it looks so cool with the ceiling fan. It looks like a film noir.
It's very necessary. It felt like 44 degrees today. So degrees, European thing.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I know it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
110, 115.
Oh my God.
Yeah, horrible.
Oh my God.
Let's
All
do
right.
something about this climate change because it didn't happen for the last 24 years, so they said. So yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for being part of it. What we're going to do is we have another session on Thursday morning, East Coast time. We're going to get the ideas from that. We're going to kind of roll it up, and then we're going to create a manifesto, and then we will have a strategy to take it to the IOC and to LA28 to start the conversation. And you may say, guys, it's only it's still 4 years away, but 4 years in Olympic time is like that. And so it's not too early. And we will be back to you with what we have. We want your input going forward. So this will be kind of a living, breathing document. And so you are in at the very beginning, and this could be something quite momentous.
Let's hope.
Well done, dude.
Let's hope and let's act. Right?
Right.
As they say, rock on. All right, y'all.
Bye all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Great to see you, Talia.
Great to see you too.
Thanks, Lou.
Gary, awesome as always. Talia, it was so cool watching you on TV, and especially and like a lot of the Olympic sports, the announcers didn't know what the heck they were talking about. But they knew what they were, the guy who was doing it knew race walking, and he knew you.
He did.
Yeah, and it was really cool. How was the experience for you?
It was amazing, like meeting so many people. Like I love it's just really exciting being at such a big event and getting to like go to the stadium, and also just meeting people in other events who I definitely look up to a lot as well too.
Talia, where are you a freshman now?
Harvey Mudd College.
And what city is that in?
It's in Claremont, California.
Okay, yeah.
So that's
And,
like east of LA.
Yes, yeah.
And how's it going?
It's been going good. Yeah. I love it. Love it here. Yeah. It's a lot of work in terms of.
You have a major?
Well, I'm currently undecided, but I'm really interested in bioengineering. So, hopefully that works out.
And are you doing cross country or?
Yes. Yeah, I'm on the cross country team, and the team here is like one of the best parts of being here. So it's been a lot of fun running with the team. It's combined with 2 other schools, which is pretty cool. So it's Claremont McKenna College and Scripps College and Harvey Mudd College are all one team. Yeah.
And can you also practice your race walking?
Yeah. I worked it out with the coach, just figuring out when I can cross train and stuff, which has been really cool. My roommate's just walking in.
Hey, roommates.
Yeah.
I did talk to, sorry, Rydian couldn't stay on, but I did talk to Rydian, and I told him, oh, I was watching you, and he was aware of you as well, of you being in the trials and doing well, and he's like, oh yeah, she's on a good path.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been looking into the like climate initiatives on campus a little bit. And I applied for this. There's this group that does climate consulting, which is really cool. For just they find different companies who want to like set goals and standards. It sounded a lot like what we're doing in this meeting. Just like creating like concrete ways to attack sustainability in like existing organizations, which is cool.
I hope you get to have a place to put that to good use there.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah, so I'm so glad you could come to the chat, and we will be like looping you in and the rest of the champions in, as we develop our ideas, refine them, and would love your input going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right, I have to run. It was great to see you, Talia.
Great to see you too.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. See you, Lou.
Bye, Talia. It's great to see you.
You too.